Imagine a profession where every single decision, from the biggest policy change down to the smallest conversation, can literally redefine a patient's future.
Yeah, that's pretty much the world of modern nursing.
Today on the deep dive, we're pulling back the curtain, really sifting through a treasure trove of articles, research, and real-world stories to bring you the essential insights.
Mm.
Consider this your fast track to understanding the surprising facts, the profound challenges, and the incredible competencies that define nursing today. We're embarking on a comprehensive deep dive into this multifaceted world. We're going to cover everything from the diverse education pathways that lead to a nursing career and how new professionals build their confidence,
Right.
to the pressing workforce challenges that shape healthcare delivery.
And there are definitely challenges.
We'll also explore their profound ethical responsibilities, the crucial communication skills that underpin every interaction, and the deep intellectual foundations that guide their practice.
It's a lot to cover.
It is. Our mission here is to distill these crucial insights, offering you a shortcut to being truly well-informed about the realities, expectations, and critical competencies required in nursing careers today.
We'll uncover some surprising facts.
Yeah, and explore the foundational principles that guide nurses in their vital work.
What's truly fascinating here as we gathered our material is how these sources really connect the dots, between individual career journeys and the systemic forces shaping healthcare.
Okay.
They provide a truly holistic view for you, our listener. We've got a rich blend of practical insights, really compelling real-world case studies, and the theoretical underpinnings that truly demonstrate why nursing is such a vital and, well, at times incredibly challenging profession. Get ready to explore a field that's constantly adapting and evolving, always at the forefront of patient care.
So we're diving straight into the foundational steps then. Before a nurse even steps onto a clinical unit, there's a significant journey through education and credentialing.
That's right.
What we've gathered clearly lays out the different routes available, and understanding these is absolutely foundational to appreciating the rich diversity and the demanding standards within the profession.
That's right. When we talk about becoming a registered nurse, or RN, our materials identify 3 primary educational pathways.
Okay, 3 main ways.
Yeah. And each has its own historical context, its unique structural approach to learning, and distinct implications for a nurse's long-term career trajectory. It's not a one-size-fits-all journey.
Right, that makes sense.
Let's start with diploma programs. These are actually the oldest pathway, traditionally hospital-based, and typically require about 24 to 30 months of intensive study.
So pretty focused.
Very focused. The curriculum for these programs was, and still is, heavily weighted toward hands-on clinical components.
Okay.
Imagine a student spending a significant portion of their training directly on the hospital floor, gaining practical experience day in and day out.
Learning by doing, essentially.
Exactly. This focus made graduates highly proficient in direct patient care. Right upon entry into the workforce, they were ready to hit the ground running. Historically, these programs were actually the standard for nursing education.
Right.
However, a key point from our sources is that while they offer incredibly intensive practical experience, they often provide limited transferability for those who might want to pursue higher academic degrees later on.
So that's the trade-off.
Precisely. This can sometimes impact a nurse's long-term career progression if they're aiming for roles in leadership, education, or advanced practice that typically require a bachelor's or master's degree. So deep, immediate clinical skill versus broader academic mobility.
Got it. Okay, what's next?
Moving on, we have the Associate Degree in Nursing, or ADN. Our sources identify this as currently the most common pathway in the United States.
The most common. Okay. How long does that take?
Usually takes between 2 to 3 years to complete. To get into an ADN program, you generally need a high school diploma, or GED, along with specific academic and curriculum prerequisites. Think subjects like anatomy, physiology, microbiology.
Foundational sciences.
Exactly. The ADN curriculum cleverly combines nursing-specific courses with a broader base of general education, natural sciences, and social sciences.
So a bit more rounded than the diploma.
A bit more rounded academically, yes. But a significant portion of this pathway also involves supervised clinical experience, giving graduates a solid foundation for patient care.
Still plenty of hands-on.
Oh, definitely. The practical appeal and accessibility of the ADN are quite clear. It provides a strong, often more cost-effective base for entry-level RN positions and effectively balances academic knowledge with essential practical skills.
What about moving on from an ADN, like for more education?
Good question. While our materials mention that an ADN alone might offer little or no transferability directly into a 4-year program,
Right.
it is often structured such that some credits could transfer.
Ah, okay.
This suggests that with careful planning, it absolutely can serve as a stepping stone for continued education, which is crucial for those looking to advance their careers and expand their scope. It offers flexibility.
Makes sense. And the third pathway?
Finally, we arrive at the baccalaureate in nursing, or BSN. This degree is offered at senior colleges and universities and is typically a comprehensive 4-year program.
The 4-year degree, right?
Yep. It requires standard college entrance requirements and specific program prerequisites. The BSN boasts a much broader curriculum, integrating nursing science with a strong emphasis on liberal arts and sciences.
So even more academic focus here.
Considerably more. This expansive approach prepares nurses for a wider range of roles beyond just direct patient care, including leadership positions, teaching roles, community health initiatives, and even introductory research.
So it opens more doors, potentially.
That's the idea. The structure typically involves the first 2 years focused on those liberal arts and sciences, giving the nurse a deeper understanding of human behavior, ethics, critical thinking.
Building a broader base.
Exactly. Followed by intensive nursing science and practice in the junior and senior years. This comprehensive approach fosters a holistic patient perspective and system-level thinking, which is invaluable for navigating the complexities of modern healthcare and for taking on more specialized or leadership-oriented roles.
It's clear each of these pathways has its strengths, laying different foundations for a career. But what happens when these different educational backgrounds converge in the same workplace?
Ah, yes.
Our sources highlight that even within nursing, these credentials can sometimes become a source of misunderstanding or even subtle bias, rather than simply a point of shared professional identity. Let's dig into that, because it's not just about the letters after your name, it's about how those are perceived.
Indeed, this is a real-world dynamic. Our
Yeah.
Communication in Action 2.1 case study featuring Alice Mason brings this beautifully to light.
Okay, Alice Mason, what happened?
Alice, a recent ADN graduate, encountered a baccalaureate-prepared colleague who expressed confusion, genuinely believing Alice's associate degree wasn't real nursing.
Ouch. That sounds like it could get awkward.
It could, but Alice handled it brilliantly. This isn't necessarily malicious, but it highlights a subtle yet significant professional bias or lack of understanding that can exist.
So how did she handle it?
Alice's approach was incredibly effective and really offers a masterclass in professional communication. She remained composed and professional.
Good start.
She provided factual information specific to her state, explaining that the science requirements for ADN and BSN were in fact the same where she studied.
Ah, using facts.
And crucially, she also demonstrated her commitment to further education by stating she was actively working towards her bachelor's degree.
So she addressed the immediate misconception and showed her future plans.
Exactly. This direct, professional, and fact-based response not only diffused the potential misunderstanding, but also educated her colleague.
That's really effective.
For you, the listener, understanding these internal dynamics is crucial because it illustrates the importance of respecting diverse expertise and career journeys within the healthcare environment. It teaches us how to address misinformation professionally with clarity and confidence, and ultimately, how to foster a more inclusive and informed workspace. It's about recognizing that different academic paths can all lead to the same essential qualification and a shared dedication to patient care.
So if I'm hearing this right, the real takeaway isn't just that there are different paths to becoming an RN, but that the initial credential is only the start.
That's a big part of it.
It's the beginning of a lifelong journey where perception, ongoing education, and the courage to advocate for one's own professional standing, like Alice did, become just as crucial as the foundational knowledge itself.
Well said.
It truly reshapes our understanding of what qualification means in practice. What then does our source material tell us about the fundamental definition of what makes someone officially qualified for a role?
You've hit on a critical synthesis there. It's about ongoing growth. And to your question, our sources provide a really clear image-defining credential as a quality that makes someone suitable for a position or task.
Simple enough.
Right. The key takeaway from our discussion about these different educational paths is that all of them are designed to provide that essential quality.
Okay.
Each route, be it diploma, ADN, or BSN, culminates in state licensure, which is the legal authorization that grants individuals the ability to practice as a registered nurse.
Licensure is the key, then.
That's the legal gate.
Well,
Well, the scope of practice, what you're legally allowed to do, and the opportunities for advancement may vary based on further education and experience.
Right.
The core credentialing signifies a fundamental level of competence and suitability for the nursing profession.
Right.
It's about meeting a specific standard that ensures patient safety and professional capability, regardless of the precise academic journey taken to get there.
So we've explored the foundational academic pathways and the nuances of credentials. But as we know, education is just the starting gun.
Mm-hmm.
The real marathon, and where a nurse truly finds their footing, begins when they transition from the textbook into the high-stakes, unpredictable environment of clinical practice.
Oh, yeah. That transition is huge.
And that, or sources reveal, is where professional confidence is truly built, often through a fascinating blend of triumphs and trials. It's a monumental shift from the structured environment of school to the fast-paced reality of the hospital floor.
That's precisely it. Evidence-Based Practice 4.2, Gaining Professional Confidence as a New Graduate by Ortiz, offers some really insightful findings on this.
Okay, what did Ortiz find?
The study highlights that professional confidence for new graduate nurses develops gradually over time. It's not an immediate switch that flips on graduation day.
Makes sense. It takes time.
It really does. And crucially, strong mentoring and preceptor relationships are absolutely paramount in this process. Preceptors are experienced nurses who guide new graduates, essentially showing them the ropes.
Having that guide must be so important.
Invaluable. What's particularly interesting is the finding that new graduates need to experience both positive and negative circumstances to successfully transition into the profession.
Wait, negative circumstances too? Why?
It's not just about everything going perfectly. Let's delve into why this development is so dynamic and requires a mix of experiences. The negative circumstances aren't necessarily failures, they're critical learning opportunities.
Okay, like what kind of negative circumstances?
The study identified issues like communication challenges with colleagues or physicians, making minor mistakes, or the disconnect between school and practice.
Ah, the theory versus reality gap.
Exactly. Where the ideal scenarios taught in textbooks collide with the messy realities of a busy unit. These are negative but vital experiences.
How do they help, though?
Navigating these builds resilience, sharpens problem-solving skills, and imparts practical wisdom that can't always be taught in the simulation lab. For instance, learning to prioritize multiple urgent tasks when you feel overwhelmed, or how to politely but firmly advocate for a patient's needs even when challenged.
Right, real-world problem solving.
Precisely. Conversely, positive circumstances, such as gaining independence in their roles, successfully performing a complex skill, building trusting relationships with colleagues and patients, receiving positive feedback, and simply accumulating diverse experiences, all reinforce competence and significantly boost confidence.
So it's a feedback loop. Success builds confidence, challenges build resilience.
Exactly. It's a continuous feedback loop.
So what does this research imply for, say, hospitals or nursing schools?
It clearly points to the vital role of structured mentorship programs and dedicated preceptor support. It also underscores the need to create supportive environments where mistakes are viewed as learning moments rather than just failures.
Fostering psychological safety.
Right, where it's okay to ask questions or admit you don't know something. For you, a listener, this underscores a powerful truth. Proficiency in any new professional role, especially nursing, is a journey. It's not a destination you arrive at immediately after graduation. It's a continuous process of growth, learning, and self-assurance, built through a myriad of experiences, both good and challenging. It's about iterative learning and building a robust professional identity.
That journey from student to confident practitioner sounds like a high-wire act sometimes.
It definitely can feel that way.
Let's look at Stephanie's journey from our sources. She's enthusiastic and has a background as a CNA, but her early experiences immediately flag some critical issues that highlight just how complex this transition can be and the immense importance of proper credentialing and licensure.
Right.
It's a real-world example of what can go wrong without the right safeguards.
Stephanie's story, from Stegen and Sowerby Stories, Part 1, Stephanie's Orientation, in Chapter 3, is a striking and frankly alarming example of what can go wrong when processes and standards are overlooked.
Okay, what happened with Stephanie?
Stephanie had 2 years of valuable CNA-certified nursing assistant experience and had completed nursing school. However, and this is the crucial point, she was not yet licensed as a registered nurse.
Ah, okay. Not licensed yet. That sounds important.
Critically important. Despite this, she attended an early orientation for new graduates. The most critical problem here is that she received a name badge identifying her as a nurse.
Oh, wow.
And during her 1-week orientation, was assigned tasks typically performed only by a licensed registered nurse.
Like what kind of tasks?
These tasks included blood glucose finger sticks, medication administration, charting in patient records, and even narcotics counts.
Whoa, medication admin, narc counts, without a license.
Exactly. She felt comfortable with these tasks because of her prior CNA experience and the training she received in nursing school, which is understandable from her perspective.
Good, she's all prepared.
But legally and ethically, it's a huge flashing red flag. The significant problem is crystal clear. Stephanie was performing RN duties and was identified as a nurse before being legally licensed.
That sounds like a massive violation.
It is a direct violation of professional standards and legal requirements for nursing practice in virtually every jurisdiction. The legal and ethical implications here are multi-layered and severe.
Who's responsible in a situation like that?
Well, the facility itself bears a huge burden of accountability for failing to verify her licensure before assigning her these duties. Imagine the risk to patients if she made a critical error without being legally authorized.
Or liability.
Huge liability. The Human Resources Department should have confirmed her licensure status before she even started orientation as a supposed nurse.
HR dropped the ball there.
Seems like it. The facility director and her supervisor are directly responsible for ensuring that assigned duties are appropriate for an individual's credentials and current scope of practice.
So multiple layers of failure.
Yes. While Stephanie's comfort level and eagerness are noted, her lack of licensure meant she was legally unqualified. This created a massive risk to patient safety and opened the facility up to significant legal liability and potential malpractice lawsuits.
What about the idea of early orientation in general? Any advantages?
Well, you could argue that early exposure might foster familiarity with the unit or building relationships. Maybe some advantages there. But the overwhelming disadvantages in this particular scenario are the huge legal and ethical risks, the potential for unsafe patient care, and the dangerous blurring of professional boundaries. Using specific stark examples like assigned to do blood glucose finger sticks, taught how to do medications, and narcotic counts really underscores the gravity.
Yeah, those are not minor things.
No. These are core responsibilities of a licensed RN that Stephanie was performing without the necessary legal authorization. This kind of systemic failure can have devastating consequences for patients, the nurse, and the institution.
This is such a powerful example of the profound importance of proper credentialing. You know, that visual of the nurse in the cartoon hovering over the patient interaction saying, "Don't worry, I know exactly what I'm doing," I think really resonates.
Left slightly. Yeah, that one's memorable.
I think anyone stepping into a complex, high-stakes role has felt that moment of simultaneous confidence and deep uncertainty. It really highlights how much of the new grad journey, even with all the training, is about navigating that gap between theory and practical application.
Absolutely.
What does that image tell us about the ideal support systems for new nurses, especially when contrasted with a situation like Stephanie's?
That image provides a wonderful moment of levity while underscoring a very serious point about the inherent challenges of professional transitions. The cartoon humorously highlights that crucial gap between theoretical knowledge gained in school and the practical application in a complex, unpredictable clinical environment.
Yet I think part.
Right. For new graduates, there's a constant, often internal process of translating what they've learned into effective action, often with that little seed of self-doubt. The I think speaks to the need for continuous learning, the importance of knowing when and how to ask for help, and the absolute necessity of operating within clear professional guidelines and a defined scope of practice,
So it's about knowing your limits.
and having the support to work within them safely. It also stresses the crucial role of supervised practice and a robust support system to ensure both patient safety and the healthy professional development of the nurse. True confidence is earned through experience, reflection, and appropriate guidance, not just by willing it into existence.
And Stephanie's case.
When we look at Stephanie's case, it's a stark reminder that while that internal I think moment is normal, operating without the legal I know the licensure is an entirely different and dangerous proposition. No amount of internal confidence can overcome that. The system has to provide that safety net and clarity.
That's a profound distinction. So we've explored the individual journey of becoming a nurse, the education, the initial confidence building. Now let's zoom out to the broader context, the state of the nursing workforce itself.
Okay, the bigger picture.
What we've gathered provides a fascinating and at times stark look at the predictions, the current realities, and the persistent challenges of supply and demand that shape healthcare every day.
Absolutely. Let's look at Evidence-Based Practice 4.1, The RN Workforce, by Clark, SP. This source gives us a vital historical perspective and a current snapshot of the nursing landscape.
What's the history here?
It tells us that in the early 2000s, there were massive, widely publicized shortages of qualified registered nurses predicted across the country. Big headlines, lots of concern.
I remember hearing about that.
Yeah, it led to a significant concerted effort to expand nursing programs nationwide to address that anticipated demand.
So did it work? Did the shortages happen?
Well, what our sources tell us now is quite interesting. These predicted shortages largely did not materialize to the extent expected.
Really? So what's the situation now?
What we primarily see now is that the supply and demand for RNs are generally well-balanced across the nation.
That sounds like good news.
It is, mostly.
Yeah.
New graduates are finding jobs within a few months, and some even have job offers waiting before they even graduate, which is a testament to the overall health and stability of the job market for nurses.
But you said mostly.
Right. It's never a perfectly uniform picture. Sure. Our sources point out that specific areas of the country still face persistent RN shortages. Think rural areas, maybe some underserved urban areas, or highly specialized fields.
Okay, so geographic and specialty variations.
Exactly. And looking ahead, healthcare as a major economic sector is projected to experience significant shortages in the next decade in certain areas, not necessarily broadly.
So targeted shortages are still a concern.
They are. This means nurses who are willing to relocate could find excellent opportunities and strong career growth in those identified high-need regions. The phrase, "will continue to bring better than average employment prospects," is a key takeaway for anyone considering this field.
Interesting. Why were the original predictions so off?
This data vividly illustrates the complexities of workforce forecasting. It was likely due to a combination of factors. The increased nursing program enrollment successfully trained more nurses than anticipated.
The pipeline filled up.
Right. And the evolving demands of the healthcare sector, perhaps influenced by economic shifts or changes in care models, may not have grown as rapidly in some areas as initially thought.
So for you, the listener, considering nursing,
this offers reassurance of strong, stable employment prospects overall. It also highlights the strategic advantage of being flexible and open to relocation to regions with identified shortages, where career opportunities are particularly robust and diverse.
But even with a generally balanced workforce,
the reality on the ground can be very different, especially when these localized shortages do occur or when hospitals don't staff appropriately even if nurses are available.
Right, which leads us back to staffing levels.
Exactly. This discussion of workforce distribution and potential shortages leads us directly to a chilling example of what happens when staffing falls dangerously short.
This is an absolutely devastating scenario. It makes you wonder, given the immense pressure on hospitals to manage costs, how can we realistically expect administrations to prioritize ideal staffing levels when the immediate financial incentive often points in the opposite direction?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Is it purely regulation, or is there a cultural shift needed here? This raises an important question. What are the direct consequences when the staffing plans or even the basic availability of nurses fall short in a real-world clinical setting?
Right.
Our next source plunges us into a truly dire scenario that underscores just how critical adequate staffing is.
Your question about the tension between cost and patient safety is at the very heart of this next tragic case study, which comes from Daily Ethical Dilemma 4.1, Staffing Shortfall.
Okay, what happened in this case?
It describes a 61-year-old woman admitted for pneumonia who developed a fever and shortness of breath. Her family, naturally concerned, called for help.
Standard procedure.
But chillingly, when they sought assistance, there was no one at the nurse's station.
No one at all.
That's what the source says. Tragically, the patient subsequently stopped breathing, required emergency resuscitation, and ultimately suffered permanent impairment. She was left unable to walk, talk, or care for herself, all due to a lack of oxygen to her brain.
Oh my God, that's horrific. What did the investigation find?
The subsequent investigation revealed a shocking truth. Only 3 registered nurses were on duty for a client load of 41 patients.
3 RNs for 41 patients. What should it have been?
For context, the hospital's own written standard required 5 RNs and 2 LPNs licensed practical nurses, so significantly fewer staff than their own policy dictated.
That's a huge gap. Was this a one-off bad day?
That's the other disturbing part. The investigation uncovered that the hospital's staffing levels were consistently below their own standard for an astonishing 51 out of the 59 days prior to this incident.
51 out of 59 days. That's not an accident. That's policy.
It certainly points towards a pattern. This is a powerful and devastating illustration of the direct, catastrophic consequences of chronic inadequate staffing.
So the immediate mistake was no one being there.
Undeniably, yes.
Mm.
The absence of a nurse at the station when a patient was in acute distress. However, the root cause is deeply systemic. The hospital's consistent, egregious failure to meet its own basic staffing standards.
Where does the fault lie? With the nurses on duty, the administration?
The primary fault lies squarely with the hospital administration for knowingly and repeatedly operating below safe staffing levels. While individual nurses are professionally accountable, their ability to provide adequate, timely care is severely hampered and compromised by such systemic failures.
They're set up to fail, almost.
That's a crucial distinction to make. While nurses strive to provide excellent care, they operate within a system, and that system has to be adequately resourced and managed.
Are there legal implications here?
There is unequivocally cause for legal action in this case. The chronic nature of the understaffing
That 51 out of 59 days.
points to clear, pervasive negligence and strengthens the potential for malpractice lawsuits against the hospital. The patient's permanent impairment is directly and demonstrably linked to this institutional failure to provide adequate care.
And ethically.
Ethically, this scenario highlights a profound and often agonizing conflict between institutional cost-saving measures or workforce challenges and the fundamental, non-negotiable duty of care to patients. It forces us to reflect on whose well-being takes precedence
The bottom line or the patient.
and the profound ethical responsibilities of leadership in healthcare to provide a safe environment for both patients and the dedicated staff. This isn't just about numbers on a spreadsheet, it's about human lives.
This is a truly sobering scenario. It's a powerful reminder that nursing isn't just about individual competence. It's profoundly impacted by systemic support, ethical leadership, and adequate resources.
Absolutely.
And speaking of ethics, sometimes the dilemmas arise even before someone is hired for a critical role, forcing committees to weigh human factors against professional standards.
This brings us to Stegen and Sowerby stories. Part 1, Hiring Dilemma, from Chapter 4, which presents a very common, yet deeply concerning, ethical and legal dilemma within the hiring process.
Okay, a hiring dilemma. What's the setup?
A new RN, only 6 months into their first job, finds themselves on a hiring committee for 2 open RN positions. After interviewing a dozen applicants and narrowing it down to 2 equally qualified candidates.
Sounds like a good process so far.
The supervisor suggests not hiring one of them. The reason given is startling. The candidate alluded to the fact that she has diabetes, and people with diabetes get sick a lot.
Whoa. Seriously, that was the reasoning.
That's what the source states. The supervisor expresses concern that this candidate would therefore be unreliable and unable to do her share of the work on the unit.
That sounds like pure bias.
The supervisor's suggestion here is clearly driven by bias, stereotypes, and unfounded assumptions about an individual's capabilities based solely on a medical condition, rather than an objective assessment of her qualifications and performance.
Ethically, that's just wrong, especially in healthcare.
Absolutely. It violates fundamental principles of fairness, justice, and non-discrimination. It's particularly egregious in a healthcare setting where an understanding of individual health conditions should ideally lead to empathy and informed decisions, not prejudice or generalization.
Are there legal issues too?
Oh, definitely. Legally, this is a clear potential violation of anti-discrimination laws, such as the Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, in the United States. The ABA prohibits discrimination against qualified individuals with disabilities if they can perform essential job functions with or without reasonable accommodation.
So the supervisor is putting the hospital at risk.
And putting the new RN on the committee in a really difficult position, facing pressure from a superior while needing to uphold professional and legal standards. It's a moment of real integrity testing.
What's fascinating here is how this particular story resolves, which thankfully isn't always the case in real-life ethical dilemmas, but offers a model for best practice in navigating these kinds of situations.
Thankfully, our sources provide Stegen and Sowerby stories, Part 2, Hiring Dilemma Resolution, which shows a very positive outcome.
Okay, good news then. What happened?
After a lengthy discussion within the hiring committee, they ultimately decided to offer the positions to the 2 candidates who were identified as the most qualified.
Well, one of them was.
And yes, one of these candidates was the nurse with diabetes.
Excellent. So they pushed back against the supervisor's bias.
It seems so. This positive resolution suggests that ethical considerations, adherence to objective qualifications, and legal obligations ultimately prevailed over the supervisor's bias suggestion. It demonstrates the importance of a structured hiring process, thoughtful committee deliberation, and, critically, the courage to challenge discriminatory viewpoints within a professional framework.
It shows the system can work.
It means that the committee members were able to articulate the ethical and legal problems with the supervisor's bias and ensure that the best candidate was chosen based on merit.
That's a huge win, not just for that candidate, but for the entire profession. It's a good reminder that sometimes the quiet courage to simply uphold what's right, even when it means challenging a superior, can lead to the best outcomes.
Well put.
No superhero capes required, just a solid understanding of ethics and a backbone. This ethical hiring dilemma really underscored the importance of clear professional standards, but ethical choices extend beyond hiring. They're woven into every decision a nurse makes on the floor.
Every single day.
And a core question guiding those daily decisions, one critical for patient safety and professional integrity, is, what am I actually allowed and qualified to do? This is where the concept of scope of practice becomes absolutely critical, not just for patient safety, but also for personal and professional accountability and avoiding disciplinary action.
Exactly. Our sources provide a very helpful, is this within my scope of practice, flowchart, which isn't just a suggestion. It's a critical, structured, multi-step decision-making process for nurses.
Flowchart. Okay. Sounds practical.
It's a legal and professional guide for determining if a specific skill or task falls within their boundaries. Let's walk through each decision point, because each yes or no carries significant weight and can determine a nurse's actions and accountability.
Right, step one.
The first question, the foundational legal test, is permitted or prohibited by the Nurse Practice Act. Each state, here in the U.S., has its own Nurse Practice Act, or NPA.
ENTA, got it.
Which is the ultimate legal authority defining what nurses can and cannot do within that state. It's like the Constitution for nursing. If a task is prohibited by the NPA, it's immediately out of scope, no further questions needed, you simply cannot perform it.
Okay. NTA is the absolute baseline. What if it is permitted?
If it's permitted, and only then, you move to the next step. Next we ask, was this skill task taught in your basic nursing program?
So, did your initial education cover this?
Right. This highlights the importance of foundational education. Many new skills or advanced procedures that a nurse might encounter require specialized training beyond what was covered in a basic nursing program, whether that was a diploma, ADN, or BSN.
So if it wasn't taught, maybe not in scope yet.
Not without further training, typically. If it was taught, you continue. Following that, the flowchart asks, have you completed a comprehensive training program, including clinical experience?
So not just book learning, but hands-on training.
Exactly. This step emphasizes that formal classroom teaching alone isn't enough. Practical, supervised experience is absolutely vital to safely and competently internalize skills. You can't just read about how to insert an IV. You need to have done it successfully under guidance and supervision.
To really be competent.
Right. This ensures proficiency through practical application.
Okay, assuming you have the training and experience, what's next?
The flowchart then asks, has the skill task become routine in nursing literature and in practice?
Routine. What does that mean exactly?
This addresses the dynamic, evolving nature of nursing. New techniques or expanded roles often start as cutting-edge practices. But with sufficient evidence, research, and widespread adoption, they eventually become routine. This question reflects the need for nurses to practice evidence-based care.
Okay, is it standard practice now?
Essentially, yes. Ensuring their practice is current and accepted within the broader professional community.
Makes sense.
Next, a crucial legal and ethical standard follows. Does carrying out this skill task meet the reasonable and prudent standard for nursing?
The reasonable and prudent standard. That sounds important.
It's a really important concept in healthcare law, it asks. Would a reasonably prudent nurse with similar education and experience perform this task in these circumstances?
So what would another competent nurse do?
Exactly. This requires significant clinical judgment, critical thinking, and a thorough risk assessment. It's about what an average competent nurse would do in the same situation, taking into account patient condition, available resources, and potential risks. It's a benchmark of professional judgment.
Okay, almost there.
One last crucial check. Finally, the last question is the skill task listed in your hiring unit's policy and procedure manual?
The specific workplace rules.
Right. Even if a task is legally within the state's Nurse Practice Act and you've been trained, a specific facility or even a particular unit's policies and procedures might be more restrictive or require specific unit-level competencies or additional certifications.
So the hospital's rules can be stricter than the state's.
They often are, or they specify how something must be done there. These facility-specific guidelines must always be followed, as they often detail the precise way a task should be performed in that particular environment.
Wow, that's a lot of checks. Why is following this so critical?
The implications of diligently following this flowchart are immense. It prevents patient harm by ensuring that only competent, authorized individuals perform tasks. It protects the nurse from legal liability and potential disciplinary action.
Which we'll talk about.
And it upholds the integrity and safety standards of the entire nursing profession. Critically, if any no is encountered at any point in this flowchart, the task is not within that nurse's scope for that specific situation, and they should not proceed.
Any no means stop.
Stop, reassess, get clarification, maybe delegate if appropriate, but do not proceed yourself.
Oh.
Deviating from this process creates unacceptable risks for both the patient and the nurse.
That flowchart truly lays out a complex web of considerations, and the image of disciplinary action that we have in our materials serves as a powerful, unambiguous reminder of the severe consequences when nurses, for whatever reason, operate outside their defined scope of practice or fail to meet professional standards.
Yeah, that red stamp is pretty stark.
What exactly does that phrase encapsulate for a nurse? What are the stakes?
That red stamp is indeed a sobering reminder. Disciplinary action in nursing can entail a range of severe consequences, each with significant career and personal repercussions.
Like what specifically?
This can include formal warnings placed in a nurse's permanent record, mandatory re-education or supervised practice to correct deficiencies, suspension of one's nursing license for a period,
Suspension.
or even the ultimate professional penalty, revocation of licensure, which means losing the legal right to practice nursing entirely.
Losing your license. That's career ending.
It absolutely can be. Any of these actions directly impacts a nurse's ability to practice, their professional reputation, and their financial livelihood. We can connect this directly back to the flowchart.
Right.
Violating any step, whether performing a task without proper training, acting outside the Nurse Practice Act, or ignoring facility policy, could lead to such actions.
So Stephanie's case, for example.
Exactly. Cases like Stephanie's, where she performed duties without a license, or the systemic failure illustrated by the staffing shortfall, which led to a patient's permanent injury, could unequivocally result in disciplinary proceedings for those accountable.
Whether individual nurses or the administration.
Right. It highlights the profound legal and ethical responsibility that comes with the privilege of nursing practice. It's a reminder that accountability is constant and severe in this profession.
To further underscore the broad range of critical competencies nurses must master for safe and effective care, let's look at how their knowledge is formally assessed for licensure.
The NCLEX.
Right. This isn't just a simple test, it's a comprehensive examination of their readiness for real-world practice.
The NCLEX Client Needs Categories table from our sources gives us a fantastic structured breakdown of this. It categorizes the content areas for the nursing licensure exams, the NCLEX RN, which every aspiring registered nurse must pass,
Everyone takes it.
providing crucial insight into the broad foundational knowledge required for all entry-level RNs. This isn't just about memorizing facts, it's about applying critical thinking to diverse scenarios.
Okay, what are the main categories?
The categories are structured to reflect the multifaceted nature of nursing. First, safe, effective care environment, which accounts for a significant 23% of the exam items.
A big chunk. What's in that?
This category is further broken down into management of care and safety and infection control. This really underscores the critical importance of patient safety, risk management strategies like preventing falls or medication errors, proper infection control protocols, and the ethical decision-making that influences the entire care environment.
So, managing the environment safely.
Exactly. It's about ensuring the system of care is sound. Next, health promotion and maintenance, making up 6–12% of the exam.
Keeping people healthy.
Right. This focuses on preventing illness, promoting wellness, and educating patients and families across the lifespan, from prenatal care and childhood immunizations to healthy aging and lifestyle management. It's about empowering patients to stay healthy.
Okay, well.
Psychosocial integrity, also 6–12%, which covers the mental, emotional, and spiritual health needs of clients.
The mind-body connection.
Precisely. This includes understanding coping mechanisms, dealing with grief, addressing anxiety, and recognizing signs of mental health crises. It acknowledges that healing is not just physical.
And the biggest category.
And finally, the largest category by far, physiological integrity, which constitutes a substantial 39 to 66% of the exam.
Wow, up to two-thirds potentially? What does that cover?
This broad category is subdivided into several crucial areas: basic care and comfort, things like hygiene, mobility, pain management,
The fundamentals.
pharmacologic and parenteral therapies, administering medications safely, understanding their effects and side effects, and 4V therapy,
Meds and 4V.
reduction of risk potential, identifying and preventing complications, interpreting lab values, recognizing early signs of deterioration,
Spotting problems early.
and physiological adaptation,
Yeah.
managing acute and chronic illnesses, understanding disease processes, and responding to changes in a patient's condition. Think of this as the nuts and bolts of direct patient care, but with immense scientific rigor behind it.
So that breakdown really shows the breadth of knowledge needed.
It does. These percentages indicate the relative importance and frequency of questions on the licensure exam. While physiological integrity is indeed the largest, emphasizing direct clinical care and interventions, it's clear that safe, effective care environment is also a substantial component.
Safety is huge.
Absolutely. This demonstrates that a nurse's expertise extends far beyond just fixing physical ailments. It encompasses creating a safe, ethical environment, promoting overall health, supporting mental well-being, and understanding complex medical interventions and their potential risks.
So for you, the listener,
This visual breakdown reveals the broad and deep knowledge base required for a nurse and shows that critical thinking and a holistic approach are embedded in their training from day one. It's truly a demanding but comprehensive assessment.
nursing is inherently a human-centered profession, and as our sources unequivocally highlight, exceptional communication skills are just as vital as any clinical expertise.
Oh, absolutely critical.
This applies whether you're interviewing for a critical role, collaborating with colleagues, or providing direct patient care. In fact, sometimes it's the most important intervention a nurse can make.
Absolutely. Communication in Action 4.1. Clarifying questions in an interview with Cheryl Layton provides an excellent example of this in a high-stakes scenario.
Okay, Shirley, how did she use clarifying questions?
Cheryl, a new graduate nurse, skillfully used clarifying questions and statements throughout her interview for a nursing position. Instead of guessing or making assumptions when faced with potentially unclear questions from the interviewer, she actively sought precision.
Smart move in an interview.
Very smart. For instance, she confidently asked, "Would you give me an example of the type of situation you were thinking about?" And, "Let me be sure I understand. You would like me to identify a situation in which I believe I responded effectively to a problem. Is that correct?"
Just making sure everyone's on the same page.
Exactly. Later, when discussing a technological shift, she confirmed information by asking, "If I understand correctly, your unit will be switching to computerized charting. Is that right?" What's truly powerful here is that she achieved complete accuracy and demonstrated her critical thinking without challenging or offending the interviewer.
Right, it shows confidence, not defiance.
Exactly. She showed confidence in seeking clarity. This type of communication is so powerful because clarifying questions ensure mutual understanding, demonstrate active listening, and showcase critical thinking. They prevent assumptions or misinterpretations.
Which could be dangerous in patient care.
Critically dangerous. Imagine misunderstanding a doctor's order for medication or misinterpreting a patient's symptoms. It's also vital for effective teamwork. Cheryl's approach models respect for the interviewer and a commitment to precision, which are indispensable qualities for any nurse in any role, from the bedside to leadership.
That's such a practical and powerful tip, whether you're a new professional or simply navigating any complex conversation. And there's another outstanding example of professional communication, especially in job interviews, focusing on proactive engagement and demonstrating foresight.
Indeed. Communication in Action 4.2. Replying professionally to an interview highlights Rosa Quintana's exceptional approach.
Okay, Rosa Quintana, what does she do?
Rosa, interviewing for a new graduate residency program, skillfully turned the tables when asked if he had any questions for the committee.
The "do you have any questions for us" moment.
Right, she responded. "I prepared some questions before I came. Some of those were already answered. However, I would like to hear more about the shared governance system you briefly mentioned on your website. Exactly what types of issues are addressed through shared governance, and how might I, as a newly hired new graduate, participate in shared governance?"
Wow, that's a specific and informed question. What's shared governance?
Good question. For our listeners, a shared governance system essentially empowers nurses at all levels to have a direct voice in decision-making about patient care, clinical practice, and the work environment. It moves beyond a top-down approach, allowing nurses to actively shape their practice.
So Rosa asking about it shows she's thinking beyond just her immediate tasks.
Precisely. Asking about a shared governance system is particularly astute for a new nurse because it demonstrates a deeper interest in leadership, professional development, and how nurses contribute to decision-making within the organization, far beyond just basic duties. It showcases initiative, engagement, and a forward-thinking mindset.
She also asked about next steps, right?
Yes, she expressed enthusiasm for the role and proactively inquired about the next steps in the selection process. These interview examples aren't just about getting a job. They model crucial communication habits applicable in various nursing contexts.
Like talking to patients or doctors.
Exactly. Effective patient education, seamless interdisciplinary collaboration, advocating for unit improvements. They convey confidence and preparedness, which are hallmarks of a strong professional.
We even have an example contrasting effective and less effective communication straight from an accreditation evaluation of a nursing program, showing how critical it is even when talking about one's own education.
This brings us to Communication in Action 3.1, speaking with an evaluator of an ADN program featuring Jerry Wilson.
Jerry Wilson, the student being interviewed for accreditation, how did he do?
Jerry, an ADN student, despite being understandably nervous for his reaccreditation interview, responded very effectively. When asked about his objectives and experiences, he explicitly discussed his neurological assessment skills practice, his desire to apply skills in real life, and his efforts to improve communication with family members during patient care.
Specific examples.
Very specific. He also praised his clinical unit for its exceptionally good learning environment and described the nurses as very helpful and supportive. His communication was judged by the evaluators as clear, direct, and provided important information, a gold standard in any professional setting.
And how did that contrast with poor responses?
The source contrasted this with poor responses that were vague, lacked concrete examples, or showed a lack of professional ambition. Things like, I don't really have any goals just to make it through the day.
Oof, not great.
Or, well, it is okay and some of the nurses are nice. You see the difference.
Big difference. Specificity and engagement versus vagueness.
Exactly. This highlights the power of specificity, enthusiasm, and the ability to connect experiences to learning outcomes and professional growth. Why are concrete examples more persuasive and memorable? Because they demonstrate critical reflection, genuine engagement, and the ability to articulate one's professional journey.
So Jerry showed he was learning and valued the environment.
Right. His response effectively highlighted his readiness for practice, the quality of his clinical unit, and his developing professional values. The poor responses, on the other hand, exemplify a lack of critical reflection and engagement, which are red flags in any professional setting.
And this matters beyond interviews, right?
Absolutely. Good communication is truly indispensable in nursing for everything from giving clear and concise shift reports, effectively educating patients and families about their conditions and treatments, collaborating precisely with physicians on care plans, to presenting findings or advocating for changes in a professional context. These examples underscore its central role in ensuring both personal career success and, most importantly, patient safety.
So we've covered the clinical skills, the ethics, the communication, but the demands on nursing students and new graduates extend far beyond just these technical and interpersonal skills.
Oh yeah, it's a whole life commitment.
It's a journey that often requires significant personal sacrifice, strategic planning, and immense resilience. It's a true balancing act.
That's very true. And Stegen and Sowerby stories. Part 1, Timeshia's balancing act, from Chapter 2, gives us a glimpse into these intense pressures.
Timeshia, what was her situation?
Timeshia, who had been a nursing assistant for 2 years, successfully completed her general education with an impressive 3.5 GPA and was accepted into a community college nursing program.
Great GPA. She must have been confident.
You'd think so, but despite her strong academic record, she worried about anticipating lower initial exam scores, which is a very common anxiety among students entering demanding programs like nursing.
Even high achievers worry.
Absolutely. Her advisor played a crucial role, recognizing Timeshia's concerns. The advisor encouraged her to talk to other students who had successfully navigated the program, helped her craft a realistic study plan to manage the rigorous curriculum,
Practical advice.
and even suggested she might wait a month or two before making a final decision if she felt overwhelmed. This emphasized that taking the right time to prepare is often better than rushing into a program unprepared for its demands.
That sounds like really good advising.
It really highlights the common anxieties and immense pressures associated with entering a demanding nursing program, especially when students are balancing existing work and life responsibilities. The advisor's role in providing support, resources like a personalized study plan, and realistic expectations is truly crucial for student success and retention.
Timnesia's initial story highlights those immediate pressures and the value of good advising. But as her journey continues, her choices become even more complex, representing very real dilemmas for many aspiring nurses who are also navigating their personal lives.
Indeed. In Stegen and Sowerby Stories, Part 2, Timesia's Choices, we see Timesia perform excellently in her first semester, earning A's and B's.
So she managed the initial hurdles well.
She did, demonstrating her dedication and capability. This was partly achieved by strategically reducing her work hours to 30 per week, allowing for more dedicated study time, a common sacrifice many students make.
Cutting back work to focus on school makes sense.
Yeah.
But what's the new dilemma?
Now, however, she is facing new, significant life decisions. She is considering getting married and buying a house during the next semester while still deep in her nursing studies.
Marriage and a house during nursing school? That sounds intense.
It really is. This scenario explores the concept of compatible choices and setting priorities when pursuing a highly demanding academic and career path like nursing. How do significant life events intersect with the rigorous demands of nursing education?
Yeah, that's a tough balancing act.
This reflects the very real-world trade-offs and difficult decisions many students, particularly adult learners balancing multiple responsibilities, must make.
What kind of advice would be appropriate here? You can't tell her not to get married.
No, of course not.
Yeah.
But the advice would involve emphasizing a realistic assessment of time commitments, financial implications, and personal stress levels. While marriage and buying a house are wonderful milestones, attempting to integrate them into an already academically intense period could lead to overwhelming stress and jeopardize her academic success.
So helping her think through the timing and potential impact?
Exactly. It encourages self-awareness and the understanding that sometimes delaying one important life goal might be necessary to ensure success in another, especially one as demanding and critical as nursing school. It's about strategic life planning and understanding that everything has a season.
That's a great point for you, the listener, to reflect on balancing competing personal and professional aspirations. It's a challenge many professionals, not just nurses, face.
Throughout their careers, absolutely.
Beyond individual student journeys, the quality and integrity of nursing programs themselves are rigorously maintained through external validation, like accreditation.
Yes, accreditation is huge.
Our sources shed light on how this vital process works to ensure high standards and continuous improvement. It's a powerful safeguard for the profession.
Accreditation is absolutely critical for nursing programs, and Evidence-Based Practice 3.1, Preparing for Accreditation, details this complex but essential process.
How does it work? Is it a one-time thing?
Not at all. Accreditation, for instance, by bodies like the Commission on Collegiate Nursing Education, or CCNE, is typically awarded for a substantial period, often 10 years.
Okay, 10 years.
But there's a Continuous Improvement Progress Report, CIPR, due at the 5-year mark. So that's not a one-and-done check. It's a commitment to ongoing excellence.
Sounds like a lot of work for the schools.
That really is. The entire process requires extensive data gathering, meticulous research, and detailed writing, often consuming a significant amount of faculty and administrators' time and resources. It's a deep dive into every aspect of the program, from curriculum design to student outcomes.
How do programs manage that effectively?
The source describes a successful method used by one nursing program, which involved forming a dedicated committee comprised of 4 full-time faculty members and staff support. They utilized specialized computer software for efficient data management and report generation.
Using technology helps.
And, crucially, instituted policies for continuous data gathering. This meant they weren't scrambling at the last minute. Data was being collected, analyzed, and integrated into program improvements constantly.
Proactive, not reactive.
Exactly. This centralized and systematic approach effectively distributed the immense workload and ensured the program was thoroughly prepared for its accreditation visit, demonstrating continuous quality improvement and adherence to national standards.
What's the main goal of accreditation? Why does it matter?
The overarching purpose of accreditation is fundamentally to ensure quality, maintain consistent standards across institutions, and foster public trust in nursing education.
Quality, standards, trust.
Okay, it's a stamp of approval that tells prospective students and the public that a program meets rigorous national benchmarks for curriculum, faculty qualifications, resources, and student outcomes.
So it benefits students directly.
Absolutely. It impacts them by guaranteeing they're receiving a high-quality education that meets professional benchmarks, which is often a prerequisite for licensure and employment.
And for the nursing profession as a whole.
It contributes to a consistently skilled and competent workforce, which is absolutely essential for safe and effective patient care across the nation. It's a silent but powerful force for good.
Before we bring this deep dive to a close, it's incredibly important to acknowledge the rich intellectual depth that underpins nursing practice.
Yes, the theoretical foundations.
It's not just about what nurses do. It's about a profound history of thinking about care, health, and the human experience, forming a robust theoretical foundation for the entire profession.
You've hit on a core, often overlooked aspect of professional nursing. Our nurse theorist stable from Chapter 2 gives us a glimpse into this intellectual backbone.
Nurse theorists. People might not realize that's a thing.
Right. But these theorists, through rigorous study and observation, have provided the conceptual frameworks that guide nursing practice, inform research, and elevate nursing from a series of tasks to a sophisticated, evidence-based, and humanistic discipline.
So they provide the why behind the what.
In many ways, yes. They help nurses systematically understand patient needs, predict responses, and intervene effectively, pushing beyond mere technical skill.
Can you give us a couple of examples? Who are these theorists?
Sure. Let's touch on a few foundational figures. For example, Lydia Hall focused on her care, cure, and core model.
Care, cure, core. What does that mean?
Hall emphasized three interconnected circles. Care is the hands-on nurturing provided by the nurse. Cure represents the medical care and interventions, and core is the therapeutic use of self, focusing on the patient's individual experience and the nurse's role in building trust.
So body, medicine, and the person inside.
Essentially, yes. A nurse following Hall's theory would prioritize not just the physical healing, but deeply engage with the patient's emotional and personal journey. Then there's Dorothea Orem, who developed the self-care deficit theory.
Self-care deficit sounds like helping people help themselves.
Exactly. This theory is quite intuitive and powerful. It proposes that nurses empower patients by identifying their self-care deficits, what they can't do for themselves, and then supporting their ability to meet their own health needs, fostering independence and self-management.
Like teaching someone diabetes management.
Perfect example. A nurse using Orem's theory might teach a diabetic patient how to manage their insulin injections independently, rather than just administering it for them.
Okay, any others that stand out?
Further expanding our intellectual landscape, we have figures like Martha Rogers, who conceived the science of unitary human beings.
Unitary human beings, that sounds complex.
It's a more abstract, holistic view. This theory challenges us to see beyond the immediate symptoms, viewing individuals as irreducible, whole energy fields constantly interacting with their environment.
Energy fields, how does that apply practically?
It means a nurse influenced by Rogers wouldn't just treat a patient's physical ailment, but would consider their entire life pattern, their rhythms, and their connection to their surroundings, perhaps even advocating for a calmer room environment, or understanding how family dynamics impact recovery. It truly shifts the focus from a purely biomedical model to a much broader, more interconnected understanding of health and healing.
Interesting. And one more, maybe.
And finally, Sister Callista Roy developed the adaptation model.
Adaptation, coping with illness.
Exactly. It views the person as an adaptive system who responds to various stimuli in 4 adaptive modes: physiological,
Physical.
self-concept, psychological and spiritual, role function, social, and interdependence relationships.
So how the illness affects all parts of their life.
Right. A nurse using Roy's model would assess how a patient is coping in all of these areas and then help them adapt to illness or injury, supporting their coping mechanisms.
So these theories really shape how nurses approach patients?
They absolutely do. They elevate nursing from a series of tasks to a sophisticated, evidence-based, and humanistic profession. They provide conceptual frameworks that guide practice, inform research, and help nurses systematically understand patient needs, predict responses, and intervene effectively.
So for you, the listener,
this section reveals that nursing is a robust academic discipline with a rich theoretical foundation, demonstrating its intellectual rigor and the critical thinking required far beyond just technical skills. It's truly a blend of science and art, deeply rooted in a history of profound thought that continues to shape how care is delivered today.
What an incredible journey we've taken in this deep dive. We've truly spanned the diverse pathways into nursing education and explored the challenging yet immensely rewarding process of new graduates gaining professional confidence.
It's been a wide-ranging discussion.
We've navigated the complexities of nursing workforce dynamics and delved into the critical need for ethical decision-making in hiring and staffing.
Crucial topics, those.
On top of that, we've explored the paramount importance of defining one's scope of practice, the necessity of clear and effective communication in every interaction, and finally, the enduring intellectual foundations that truly make nursing a profound and dynamic profession.
Indeed. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it's clear that nursing is a profoundly dynamic, ever-evolving field. It demands continuous learning, astute ethical reasoning, exceptional communication skills, and unwavering resilience from its practitioners.
Resilience definitely seems key.
It really is. It is a profession that consistently adapts to ever-changing healthcare needs, demonstrating immense societal impact and constant evolution. The nurse is truly at the very heart of the healthcare system, requiring a unique blend of scientific knowledge, the art of compassionate care, and profound humanity in every interaction.
The essential constant, as you said.
In a world of constant change, yes.
Yeah. As we've seen throughout this deep dive, nursing is a career of immense responsibility, where every decision, from strategic staffing levels to a simple, clarifying question in an interview, has profound implications for patient outcomes and professional integrity.
Mm-hmm.
Given the ever-accelerating pace of change in healthcare technology, evolving patient demographics, and increasing global health challenges, how might fostering a culture of continuous ethical dialogue and investing in adaptive professional development become even more critical in shaping the future of nursing and, by extension, the quality of care for us all?
That's a powerful question to leave our listeners with.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We encourage you to continue your own explorations into these vital topics.